Picture this. You're 8 months pregnant, standing on stage in front of 500 people, about to expose your billionaire husband's affair with his assistant. The cameras are rolling, your children are watching, and you're about to detonate your entire life in the most public way possible. But here's what nobody expected. When the cheating husband takes the microphone, he doesn't deny it. He doesn't run. He makes a confession so shocking that even his betrayed wife stood frozen in disbelief. Then he collapses on stage and everything spirals into chaos. What happened next? A custody battle that turned vicious. A mistress who claimed she was pregnant with his baby. A friend's betrayal that cost $500,000. Financial accounts frozen overnight, leaving a billionaire with just $87 cash. And a twist involving the FBI that nobody saw coming. This is the true story of Sarah Mitchell Carter, the pregnant wife who ended her marriage on stage and triggered a chain of events that destroyed a $4 billion empire, sent multiple people to prison, and proved that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone who hurt you. It's building a life so beautiful they can only watch from the outside. But before we dive into how a charity gala turned into the most viral public divorce in Silicon Valley history, let me ask you something. Have you ever stayed silent when you should have spoken up? Have you ever wondered if exposing the truth publicly is brave or cruel? By the end of this story, you'll have your answer. This is a 90-minute journey through betrayal, despair, and ultimate triumph. And I promise you, every twist will leave you stunned. Let's begin. Sarah Mitchell Carter stood at the podium of the Four Seasons Ballroom, 8 months pregnant in an elegant emerald gown and prepared to detonate her life. 500 guests filled the grand hall, tech moguls, philanthropists, Silicon Valley elite, media cameras, a live stream broadcasting to 50,000 viewers online. Everyone expected her routine State of the Foundation speech. No one expected what was coming. Her husband Marcus sat in the front row, beaming with pride in his Tom Ford tuxedo. For 10 years, he had been her partner, the father of her children, the man she built an empire with. Now he was about to become something else entirely. Sarah gripped the podium. Her baby kicked inside her. She thought of Jackson and Lily, her 8-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter, sitting with their nanny in the back. She thought of the evidence in the locked safe at home, 847 text messages, 47 hotel receipts, 2 years of lies. "Good evening," Sarah began, her voice carrying across the silent ballroom. "Thank you all for supporting the Carter Foundation's mission. Tonight, I was supposed to talk about our achievements this year. Instead, I'm going to talk about truth, about betrayal, about the man sitting right there in the front row." The audience murmured. Marcus's smile faltered. "For 8 months, I've carried two things," Sarah continued, hand on her pregnant belly. "Our child and the knowledge that my husband has been having an affair with his assistant, Brittany Hayes. She's here tonight too because I invited her." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A spotlight swung to Brittany Hayes, frozen 3 rows back in a designer dress, face draining of color. "For those wondering if I have proof," Sarah said calmly, "I do. Hit the lights." Screens throughout the ballroom illuminated simultaneously. Hotel surveillance footage played, Marcus and Brittany entering the Peninsula Hotel, his hand on her lower back. Text messages appeared in 20-foot letters. "I'm obsessed with you. Can't focus in meetings thinking about your body." Video rolled of them kissing on a private Maui beach while he was supposedly at an investor conference in Tokyo. The room erupted in chaos. Marcus stood, face pale. "Sarah, what are you doing?" "Sit down," she said, her voice steel. "I'm not finished." Security guards stepped closer. Marcus sat. Sarah's next words were measured, precise. "I've filed for divorce. Papers were served this morning. Marcus, you'll receive the custody proposal tomorrow. Brittany, you're welcome to him, but that $2.3 million condo you live in, purchased with marital assets, I'll be suing for its return." Then came the moment no one expected. Marcus stood and walked onto the stage. He took the microphone from Sarah's hand. The audience went silent. "Sarah's right," Marcus said, his voice shaking, "about everything, every word. But what she doesn't know, what nobody knows, is why. He paused. You could hear a pin drop. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease. My neurologist gave me maybe 5 to 10 years of cognitive function left. I didn't tell you, Sarah, because I couldn't bear watching you sacrifice your life to care for a shell of the man you married. So I pushed you away. I made you hate me. I hired Brittany initially as an actress, paid her to play the role of mistress so you'd have a reason to love, so you'd remember me as the bastard who betrayed you, not the hollow shell you'd have to spoon-feed in 5 years. Sarah's face showed shock, confusion, rage all at once. It became real and wrong, and I'm sorry. Marcus collapsed mid-sentence. His body convulsed. He fell to the stage floor. Chaos erupted. Patricia Carter, Marcus's mother, screamed and rushed forward. Paramedics pushed through the crowd. Media cameras captured everything. Brittany fled through the back exit. Jackson and Lily cried in the back row. Sarah stood frozen, one hand on her pregnant belly, as paramedics loaded Marcus onto a gurney. I loved you, Marcus whispered, grabbing her hand as they wheeled him past. I always loved you. His hand went limp. Sarah pulled away as Emily, her sister and attorney, grabbed her arm. We need to leave now. As Emily escorted Sarah out through the side entrance, reporters swarmed, cameras flashing, voices shouting questions. Sarah looked back once at the ballroom, at the screens still displaying evidence of Marcus's betrayal, at the 500 witnesses to her nuclear announcement. Then the doors closed behind her, and everything went dark. 8 months earlier, none of this seemed possible. Sarah Mitchell met Marcus Carter 10 years ago at a fundraising gala her parents hosted in Manhattan. She was 22, fresh from Yale with a degree in international relations, heir to the Mitchell Foundation's $800 million endowment. He was 28, a scrappy startup founder, pitching a revolutionary software platform called Technova. Marcus came from nothing. Raised by a single mother in a cramped Bronx apartment, always scraping by. Sarah came from everything. Old money, ivy-covered estates, summer homes in the Hamptons. But when Marcus talked about his vision for technology that could change education in developing nations, Sarah saw something beyond the pedigree divide. She saw passion, drive, someone who wanted to make a difference, not just make money. Her parents liked him too. They invested $2 million from the foundation. Sarah invested $50 million from her personal trust fund. Within 2 years, Technova was valued at $500 million. Within 5 years, $2 billion. By year 8, $4.2 billion. They married in Napa Valley. Vanity Fair featured them as next-generation power couples. Sarah wore a custom gown by a renowned designer. 200 guests attended, including titans of tech and philanthropy. It was perfect. They had Jackson a year later. Lily came 2 years after that. They bought a stunning glass and stone mansion in Palo Alto, overlooking Silicon Valley. From the outside, they had everything. But something shifted after Lily's birth. Marcus worked longer hours, traveled constantly. Board meetings in Seattle, investor conferences in Tokyo, acquisition talks in London. Sarah managed the foundation, raised their children, appeared at charity galas looking perfect, while Marcus's presence in her life became increasingly abstract. Then came the surprise third pregnancy 8 months ago. Sarah was thrilled. Marcus was distant. At the bar, we were done having kids, Sarah, he said when she told him, barely looking up from his laptop. This is inconvenient timing. Inconvenient, that was the word he used for their child. Their sex life had died months before. I'm stressed, Marcus would say. I'm exhausted. Can we not tonight? He showered at odd hours. His phone was always face down. He bought gym memberships he never used. New cologne appeared in the bathroom. The first crack came on a Thursday in October. Sarah was organizing Marcus's home office while he was supposedly in London for acquisition talks. She found a receipt in his jacket pocket. Peninsula Hotel Beverly Hills, room 847, 2 nights, champagne and spa services, $4,000. She checked his calendar. He was supposed to be in Seattle those dates. Her hands shook as she called the hotel. I'm Mrs. Carter. My husband stayed there last month. I need to confirm dates for an expense report. Yes, the clerk said cheerfully. Mr. Carter and his guest checked in Thursday, checked out Saturday. His guest? Yes, ma'am, a female guest. They upgraded to the honeymoon suite. Sarah hung up. She sat in Marcus's leather office chair, staring at the receipt, and felt her perfect life begin to crack like thin ice. There had to be an explanation. A client, perhaps. Some business arrangement she didn't understand. Marcus wouldn't. He couldn't. Not after everything they had built together. But over the next weeks, Sarah found more inconsistencies. Credit card statements showing charges at lingerie boutiques, $5,000 at a jewelry store. She'd received no jewelry. Marcus's explanation was casual, dismissive. Those are client gifts, Sarah. Relax. But Sarah couldn't relax because she'd learned something important in her years managing a philanthropic foundation. When the numbers don't add up, someone is lying. And Marcus's numbers weren't adding up. By her third month of pregnancy, Sarah made a decision. She hired a private investigator named Tony Rizzo, ex-LAPD, discreet and thorough. She didn't tell Emily, didn't tell her parents. She needed to be absolutely certain before she acted. Find out where my husband goes, Sarah told Tony in a coffee shop in San Francisco, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap like a character in a spy movie. Who he sees, what he's hiding. Tony took the case. And over the next 5 months, as Sarah's belly grew larger and Marcus grew more distant, Tony uncovered a truth that would destroy everything. The evidence arrived in manila folders, delivered monthly to a private mailbox Sarah rented under a fake name. Month 4 of her pregnancy. First folder. Target identified. Brittany Hayes, 30 years old, though she told everyone she was 27. MBA from San Jose State University. Hired as Marcus's executive assistant 3 years ago. Annual salary, $120,000. But her lifestyle suggested income far exceeding that figure. $2.3 million condo in San Francisco's Marina District. Mercedes SL 65. Designer wardrobe. Private Pilates instructor. All on an executive assistant's salary? Impossible. Tony dug deeper. The condo was purchased through a shell company called BH Properties LLC. The LLC was funded by wire transfers from offshore accounts. Those accounts traced back to Technova operating expenses, coded as consulting fees. Marcus was using company money to buy his mistress a luxury apartment. Month 5. Second folder, hotel surveillance footage. Marcus and Brittany at 47 different hotels over 2 years. The Peninsula in Beverly Hills. The Ritz-Carlton in Half Moon Bay. The St. Regis in Aspen. Always checking in together. Always upgrading to suites. Always staying multiple nights. The affair began 2 years ago at a company retreat in Aspen. Hotel cameras caught them in the hot tub at 2 in the morning. His hands in her hair, her legs wrapped around him. 2 years, while Sarah was pregnant with Lily, while Sarah was raising their children alone, while Sarah was appearing in society magazines as Marcus's perfect philanthropist wife. Month 6, third folder. Text messages, 847 of them. Tony had hacked Marcus's cloud backup. Every conversation was there, preserved in digital evidence. I'm obsessed with you. Can't focus in meetings thinking about your body. Leave her already. I'm tired of being your secret. After the baby, I promise, she's too pregnant to handle divorce now. Sarah read every message sitting in her car in a Target parking lot, hand on her pregnant belly, tears streaming down her face. People walked past pushing shopping carts while Sarah's marriage dissolved in text form on a tablet screen. The most damaging evidence came in month 7. Tony had planted a listening device in Brittany's condo during a period when both she and Marcus were out of town. He captured a conversation that confirmed Sarah's worst fears. Marcus's voice, crystal clear. I'll leave her after the baby comes. Not before. It would look terrible in the press. But once she's recovered, I'll file for divorce. You'll be Mrs. Carter by next year, I promise. Brittany's voice, petulant. You said that last year, Marcus. This time I mean it. I'm just waiting for the right moment. Sarah listened to that recording 50 times. Each time it felt like someone had reached into her chest and squeezed her heart until it stopped beating. She was 8 months pregnant, carrying Marcus's child, and he was promising another woman marriage. He was planning to divorce her. He was just waiting for her to recover from childbirth first, like she was some inconvenient obstacle to his happiness. Month 8. Sarah called Emily. Her younger sister flew in from New York within hours. Emily Turner, 30 years old, partner at one of Manhattan's most prestigious divorce firms, fierce and brilliant and utterly loyal. They met at the Connecticut family estate where Sarah had grown up, far from Silicon Valley eyes. "Show me everything," Emily said. Sarah spread it out on the mahogany dining table. 8 months of evidence. Folders and folders. Photos, videos, text messages, financial records, hotel receipts, recorded conversations. Emily studied it all for 3 hours without speaking. Finally, she looked up. "You have enough to destroy him," Emily said. "Legally, financially, socially. But Sarah, if you go nuclear with this, he'll fight back. He has resources, lawyers. He'll claim you're vindictive, unstable, trying to manipulate custody. Are you prepared for that war?" Sarah put both hands on her pregnant belly. "He spent 2 years lying to me. 2 years sleeping with another woman while I raised our children. 2 years promising her my life while I thought we were building a future together. He doesn't get to slide out of this quietly. He doesn't get to control the narrative. I want everyone to know exactly what he is." "Then we need to plan this perfectly," Emily said. "One shot, maximum impact, irrefutable evidence. Complete surprise." They planned for 2 weeks. The Carter Foundation annual gala was scheduled for early February. 500 guests, media coverage, live stream. Marcus expected Sarah to give her usual speech about foundation achievements and future initiatives. Instead, Sarah would give him a different kind of future. But first, she needed one more player in position. She needed Brittany Hayes at that gala, sitting where everyone could see her when the truth came out. Sarah discovered Brittany's home address through Tony's files. She created an elegant invitation on Carter Foundation letterhead. "Ms. Brittany Hayes, the Carter Foundation cordially invites you to our annual gala as a special guest. Your innovative work in finance deserves recognition. Marcus has personally requested your attendance. Car service will collect you at 7 p.m. Black tie required, RSVP not necessary. We have reserved your seat." Brittany received it at her luxury condo. She called Marcus immediately, but he was in a board meeting and didn't answer. She assumed he'd arranged this, a sign he was finally ready to acknowledge their relationship publicly. She spent $5,000 on a dress, got her hair and makeup professionally done, never suspected she was walking into a trap. The night before the gala, Sarah sat in the nursery she decorated for her unborn daughter. Lavender walls, white crib, stuffed animals are arranged on shelves. She looked at the ultrasound photo on the wall, at the tiny face of her baby girl. "After tomorrow, everything changes," Sarah whispered, hand on her belly. "But I promise you'll grow up knowing your mother fought for herself, that she didn't accept scraps of love from a man who didn't value her. I'm doing this for you, for me, for Jackson and Lily. We deserve better." A tear rolled down her face. She wiped it. Steel returned to her eyes. Tomorrow, 500 people would witness Marcus Carter's reckoning. Tomorrow, the world would see who he really was. Tomorrow, Sarah Mitchell Carter would stand on that stage, 8 months pregnant, and burn her marriage to the ground. And she wouldn't regret a second of it. The Four Seasons ballroom sparkled with opulence. Crystal chandeliers reflected light onto marble floors. Ice sculptures stood at strategic corners. White-jacketed servers circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. 500 guests arrived in designer gowns and tuxedos, air-kissing and networking. Sarah stood near the entrance in her Emerald Empire waist gown, diamonds at her throat, belly prominent at 8 months. She looked radiant. She felt nothing. Marcus arrived and kissed her cheek for the cameras. "You look beautiful," he said, his hand possessively on her lower back as photographers snapped. "I'm so proud of you." Sarah smiled. "Thank you, darling." "My beautiful wife," Marcus told a reporter from TechCrunch, "about to give us our third child. I'm the luckiest man alive." Sarah's smile never wavered. Inside, she was counting down. 2 hours until dinner, 2.5 until speeches, 3 hours until detonation. Brittany Hayes arrived in a car service Sarah had arranged and paid for. She entered the ballroom in a tight black dress, looking for Marcus. She saw him on the red carpet with Sarah, confusion crossing her face. She pulled out her phone and texted, "I'm here, where are you?" Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't check it, too busy posing for photos with his pregnant wife. Inside the ballroom, Sarah moved through the crowd like a queen. She greeted foundation board members, thanked major donors, embraced Marcus's parents, Robert and Patricia Carter, who'd flown in from Arizona. "Sarah, you look exhausted," Patricia said, concerned. "Are you feeling okay?" "I'm feeling clarity," Patricia, Sarah said, for the first time in months. Grace Williams, a family friend, approached with worry in her eyes. "Honey, you should sit down. You're so pregnant." "I'll sit soon," Sarah promised, "after I say what I need to say." Marcus circulated separately, greeting tech moguls and venture capitalists. David Morrison, Technova's CFO and Marcus's best friend, pulled him aside. "Hey, I need to talk to you about those offshore accounts." "Not tonight, Dave," Marcus said, clapping his shoulder. "Tonight's about Sarah and the foundation." David watched Marcus walk away, jaw tight. He knew things Marcus didn't think he knew, and soon everyone else would know too. Dinner was served. Marcus sat at the head table beside Sarah. Brittany was seated 3 rows back, center seat, visible to everyone per Sarah's seating chart. Brittany kept staring at Marcus, trying to catch his eye. He never looked back. "You nervous about your speech?" Marcus asked Sarah, cutting his filet mignon. "Not at all," Sarah said, taking a small bite of salmon. "I've been preparing for this moment for 8 months. Marcus didn't catch the double meaning. "That's my girl." Across the table, Emily caught Sarah's eye. Sarah gave the smallest nod. Emily pulled out her phone and sent a text to the production crew. Everything was ready. The evidence was loaded. The screens were programmed. The moment Marcus's world imploded was queued up and ready to play. Dessert concluded. The master of ceremonies approached the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the co-founder of the Carter Foundation, Sarah Mitchell Carter." Applause filled the ballroom. Sarah stood, smoothing her gown over her pregnant belly. Marcus beamed from his seat. Jackson and Lily watched from the back with their nanny, excited to see Mommy give her speech. Sarah walked to the stage, climbed the 3 steps carefully, one hand on the railing, reached the podium, looked out at 500 faces, cameras pointed at her. The live stream broadcast her image to 50,000 viewers online. This was it, the moment everything changed, the moment she took her life back. Sarah gripped the podium and began to speak. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight and for your continued support of the Carter Foundation. We've had an incredible year. $45 million distributed to education programs, environmental initiatives, and youth development worldwide. Standard opening. Everyone relaxed. Just another foundation speech. But tonight," Sarah continued, her voice shifting, "I'm not going to talk about spreadsheets or impact metrics. Tonight, I'm going to talk about truth, about integrity, about the values we claim to uphold." The room quieted. Something in her tone felt different. "My husband, Marcus Carter, sits right there in the front row," Sarah said, pointing. "For 10 years, he's been my partner, the father of my children, my best friend, or so I thought." Marcus's smile began to fade. 8 months ago, the same week I discovered I was pregnant with our 3rd child, I also discovered he's been having an affair with his executive assistant, Brittany Hayes, for the past 2 years. The ballroom exploded. Gasps, murmurs, heads turning, searching for Brittany. Several people stood up. Marcus's face went pale. "Sarah, what are you doing?" Marcus started to stand. "Sit down," Sarah said, her voice pure steel. "I'm not finished." Security guards moved closer to the stage. Marcus sat, hands gripping the table edge. "Brittany is here tonight," Sarah continued. "In fact, I invited her personally. Brittany, would you please stand?" A spotlight operator Sarah had briefed earlier swung the light to row 3, center seat. Brittany Hayes was illuminated like an actress on stage, frozen in horror, face draining of color. She tried to duck. The spotlight followed her. "For those wondering if I have proof," Sarah said calmly, "I do. Hit the lights." The ballroom screens, all 12 of them, illuminated simultaneously in synchronized horror. Screen 1 showed hotel surveillance footage. Marcus and Brittany entering the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills. Marcus's hand on her lower back. Her laughing up at him. Timestamp, 18 months ago. Screen 2 displayed text messages in letters 3 feet tall. Marcus, "I'm obsessed with you. Can't focus in meetings thinking about your body. Brittany, leave her already. I'm tired of being your secret. Marcus, after the baby, I promise. She's too pregnant to handle divorce now. Screen 3 showed Brittany's Instagram story from a solo vacation to Maui, except she was wearing the diamond necklace Sarah had reported stolen 6 months ago. The same weekend, Marcus claimed he was at an investor conference in Tokyo. Screen 4 displayed Marcus's credit card statement, $67,000 in charges over 6 months, jewelry stores, lingerie boutiques, the Peninsula Hotel, the Ritz-Carlton, spa packages, none for Sarah. Screen 5 played video footage. Marcus and Brittany on a private Maui beach, his hands in her hair, kissing her neck, her legs wrapped around his waist. The video had sound. I love you, Brittany said on camera. When are you going to tell her? The ballroom had descended into complete chaos. Patricia Carter was sobbing. Robert Carter stood up, face red with rage. Tech moguls stared in shock. Media cameras captured every moment. The live stream viewer count was climbing rapidly as people shared the link. This was going viral in real time. Marcus Andrew Carter, Robert shouted across the ballroom. What have you done? Marcus sat frozen, paralyzed by the evidence displayed on every screen. Brittany stood up from her seat and ran toward the exit, but reporters blocked her path, cameras in her face, questions flying. Sarah remained at the podium, calm and composed, 8 months pregnant, diamonds glittering at her throat, voice never wavering. I've filed for divorce, Sarah said. Papers were served to Marcus this morning. He'll receive the custody proposal tomorrow. Brittany, you're welcome to him. But here's something you should know. That $2.3 million condo you live in, purchased with marital assets, I'll be suing for its return. That Mercedes SL65, marital assets. That Cartier bracelet on your wrist right now, it was mine, stolen property. Brittany finally broke through the crowd and fled through a side exit, pursued by photographers. Sarah's voice carried over the chaos. As for you, Marcus, I'm taking back my original $50 million investment in Technova, plus the equity growth it generated, approximately $2.8 billion. My lawyers will be in touch. Then came the moment that would be replayed a million times online. Marcus stood up, walked toward the stage, climbed the stairs, took the microphone from Sarah's hand while she watched, stunned. The room went silent. Marcus Carter stood under the spotlight, 500 faces staring up at him, his pregnant wife beside him, and did something no one expected. He told the truth, or what sounded like the truth. Sarah's right, Marcus said, his voice breaking. About everything. Every word is true. But what she doesn't know, what nobody knows, is why. He paused, looking out at the shocked faces, his parents, his colleagues, the cameras broadcasting this to the world. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's disease. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarah's eyes widened. My neurologist told me I have maybe 5 to 10 years of cognitive function left, Marcus continued. Maybe less. He told me I'd forget my children's names, forget our wedding day, forget everything that makes me who I am. I'd become a stranger to everyone I love. Patricia Carter's sobbing intensified. Robert's angry expression shifted to confusion. I didn't tell you, Sarah, Marcus said, turning to her, because I couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear watching you sacrifice your life to care for a shell of the man you married. You're brilliant and beautiful, and you deserve so much more than watching me deteriorate. Sarah stood frozen, hand on her belly, face cycling through emotions too fast to name. So I pushed you away, Marcus said. I sabotaged our marriage intentionally. I hired Brittany initially as an actress. I paid her to play the role of mistress, to send text, to be seen with me. I created evidence so you'd have a reason to hate me enough to leave. The ballroom had gone completely silent, 500 people holding their collective breath. It became complicated, Marcus said. It became real and wrong, and I'm so sorry. He collapsed mid-sentence, his body convulsed. He fell to the stage floor, limbs jerking, eyes rolling back. Marcus! Patricia screamed, running toward the stage. Chaos erupted. Someone yelled for a doctor. Paramedics pushed through the crowd. Emily grabbed Sarah's arm as photographers swarmed. Jackson and Lily were crying in the back, their nanny trying to shield them from the horror. Sarah stood over Marcus's convulsing body, one hand on her pregnant belly, face a mask of shock and confusion and rage. Was he telling the truth? Was this another manipulation? Was he really dying, or was this the performance of a desperate man caught in his lies? The paramedics loaded Marcus onto a gurney. As they wheeled him past Sarah, his hand shot out and grabbed hers. "I loved you," Marcus whispered, eyes unfocused. "I always loved you." His hand went limp. He lost consciousness. "Ma'am, we need to get him to Stanford Medical immediately," the lead paramedic said to Patricia, who was sobbing hysterically. Emily pulled Sarah away from the stage, away from the cameras, away from the 500 witnesses, to the most dramatic public exposure in Silicon Valley history. As they exited through a side door, Sarah looked back once. The screen still displayed evidence of Marcus's affair. Brittany's empty chair sat in the spotlight. Marcus's parents were holding each other, crying. The entire ballroom was in chaos, and Sarah felt nothing, just a strange, cold emptiness where her heart used to be. Outside, Emily's car waited. They climbed in. Emily gave the driver the address of Sarah's Connecticut family estate. As they pulled away, Sarah's phone began buzzing with notifications. Hundreds of them. The story was already breaking online. "Is he really sick?" Sarah asked, her first words since leaving the stage. "I don't know," Emily said, "but we're going to find out." They drove through the night while the internet exploded. TMZ posted the story within an hour. CNN picked it up 2 hours later. By morning, it was international news. Tech billionaire collapses after wife exposes affair at charity gala. Marcus Carter's Alzheimer's confession. Manipulation or tragic truth. Pregnant wife's dramatic takedown goes viral. Within 24 hours, the gala speech had 40 million views on TikTok. The hashtag Team Sarah was trending, alongside Team Marcus. Comment sections erupted in debate. "She's a queen for exposing him publicly." "If the Alzheimer's is real, she just humiliated a dying man." "She traumatized their kids by doing this publicly." "He deserves everything he gets. Cheater." Sarah watched it all from the Connecticut estate, numb and exhausted. Marcus was stable at Stanford Medical under observation, claiming memory issues. His lawyers had already called, requesting negotiation. Sarah's response was simple. "No negotiations. I want full custody. I want my investment returned. I want him out of my life." Then she called Marcus's neurologist. "Dr. Wade, this is Sarah Carter. I need to know if my husband is actually sick or if this is another lie." "Mrs. Carter, HIPAA prevents me from—" "He made this claim publicly in front of 500 people," Sarah interrupted. "He waived privacy. Is he sick?" Dr. Wade was silent for a long moment. "He came to me 2 years ago with memory concerns. Tests showed early markers. Inconclusive. Could be stress-induced. Could be early-stage Alzheimer's. Could be nothing. I recommended follow-up. He never came back. So he took an inconclusive diagnosis and weaponized it. I can't speculate on his motives, ma'am." But Sarah didn't need speculation. She knew Marcus, and this felt exactly like something he would do. Take a grain of truth and spin it into a shield. She stood in the nursery she'd prepared for her daughter, due in 3 weeks, and looked at the lavender walls she'd painted herself. At the crib Marcus had promised to assemble but never did. At the life she'd imagined that would never exist now. Jackson and Lily were in the next room, confused and scared. They'd watched their father collapse on stage. They'd heard the gasps and seen the photos. They knew something terrible had happened, but Sarah hadn't found the words to explain it yet. How do you tell your children their father is a liar? How do you explain betrayal to an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old? How do you prepare them for the media circus that was about to consume their lives? Sarah sat in the rocking chair, hand on her belly, and tried to find the strength to keep fighting. Because Marcus wasn't done, she knew that. His lawyers would come back with attacks of their own. He would try to spin this, to control the narrative, to paint himself as the victim. And Sarah would have to be ready for the custody battle, for the financial fight, for the public warfare that was just beginning. She just wished she felt something other than this hollow emptiness where her love for Marcus used to live. 1 week after the gala, Marcus hired Thompson and Associates, the most ruthless legal firm in California. They filed 3 simultaneous emergency motions that hit Sarah like coordinated bombs. Emergency custody petition, restraining order, fraud allegations. Sarah read the documents in her Connecticut kitchen while Emily paced and swore. The custody petition claimed Sarah was mentally unstable, that her vindictive public attack had traumatized their minor children, that she prioritized revenge over their well-being, that she posed psychological danger. Marcus requested immediate temporary custody pending psychiatric evaluation. The restraining order banned Sarah from Technova headquarters, any company property, contact with board members, and access to shared financial accounts pending forensic audit of alleged embezzlement. The fraud allegations were the cruelest. Marcus's forensic accountants claimed Sarah had withdrawn $50 million from Technova's operating account without authorization, hiding marital assets. This constituted theft and financial fraud. "That's my money," Sarah said, voice shaking. "From my trust fund, that I invested 10 years ago." "I know," Emily said, "but Marcus's team is arguing all marital assets split 50-50 regardless of origin. It's garbage, and we'll fight it, but it buys him time." Then came the media blitz. Marcus appeared on Good Morning America 3 days later, eyes red-rimmed, voice trembling. The interview was a masterclass in manipulation. "I made a terrible mistake," Marcus told the sympathetic female interviewer. "I'm not defending the affair, but I'm a human being dealing with a potential terminal diagnosis, and my wife turned our private pain into a public spectacle. Our children had to watch me collapse on stage. Jackson has nightmares now. Lily won't speak. I'm fighting for custody to protect them from Sarah's rage." "Some say you deserved public humiliation," the interviewer said gently. "Maybe I did," Marcus agreed, looking directly at the camera. "But my children didn't. Sarah had every right to divorce me privately. She chose cruelty. She chose revenge. And our kids are paying the price." The comment section shifted. "He's right. She traumatized those kids. Pregnant women can be irrational. Hormones make them vindictive. Two wrongs don't make a right. He cheated. She abused." Sarah watched the interview alone in the Connecticut estate while Jackson and Lily were at school. She felt the public tide turning against her, felt her vindication dissolving into villainy. The emergency custody hearing happened 4 days later. Judge Bryant was old school, male, in his 60s, with a reputation for traditional views on family dynamics. Marcus's lawyers painted Sarah as a calculating harpy who weaponized her pregnancy for revenge. They showed clips from the gala. They quoted social media reactions. They brought in a child psychologist who testified that public humiliation of a parent causes severe psychological trauma to children. Emily fought back hard. She presented evidence of Marcus's affair, his lies, his financial fraud. She argued that Sarah's decision to expose the truth publicly was unconventional but not criminal, and certainly didn't indicate mental instability. But Judge Bryant's ruling went against them. "Mrs. Carter, while I understand your anger at your husband's infidelity, your decision to publicly humiliate him in front of 500 people, including your minor children, shows concerning judgment. Until a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation is complete, I'm granting temporary custody to Mr. Carter." Sarah stood, voice shaking. "Your Honor, he's manipulating the court." "Mrs. Carter, another outburst, and I'll hold you in contempt. Mr. Carter will have primary custody Monday through Friday. You'll have supervised weekend visitation. This is temporary pending evaluation." The gavel banged. Sarah collapsed in the courthouse hallway, Emily catching her. "He's taking my babies," Sarah sobbed. "Oh God, he's taking my babies." That Monday morning, 8.5 months pregnant, Sarah stood in her Connecticut driveway and watched Marcus's driver take Jackson and Lily away for the week. Lily pressed her small hand against the car window, tears streaming down her face. Jackson tried to be brave, but his chin trembled. Sarah went inside and lay on Jackson's bed, smelling his pillow, sobbing until she couldn't breathe. That night, Jackson called from the bathroom at Marcus's Palo Alto house, whispering so he wouldn't be heard. "Mommy, baby, are you okay?" Daddy's being weird. He's making us call him sir. He hired a nanny who's mean. Lily's crying every night. I don't want to be here. Sarah's heart shattered. I'm working on it, baby. I'm going to fix this. When, Mommy? When are you going to come get us? Marcus's voice in the background. Jackson, who are you talking to? I have to go. The call ended. Sarah called Emily at midnight. I can't do this. I can't survive losing them. The evaluation is Friday, Emily said. Just hold on. The psychiatric evaluation took 2 hours. Dr. Patricia Nguyen asked Sarah hundreds of questions, examined her responses, studied body language, asked about her anger, her planning, her motivations. On a scale of 1 to 10, how angry are you at your husband? 11, Sarah said honestly. But I would never hurt my children. Everything I did was to teach them to stand up for themselves, to show them that betrayal has consequences, that you don't stay silent when someone destroys your trust. The report came back 2 days later. Sarah Mitchell Carter demonstrates no signs of mental instability. Her anger is justified and proportional to the betrayal she experienced. Her decision to confront her husband publicly, while unconventional, does not indicate danger to her children. Recommendation: restore primary custody to mother. Judge Bryant reversed his order reluctantly. Sarah got her children back that afternoon. Jackson ran into her arms sobbing. Lily wouldn't let go of her neck. They stood in Marcus's Palo Alto driveway for 10 minutes, holding each other, Sarah's pregnant belly between them, while Marcus watched from an upstairs window with an unreadable expression. Then came the victories that felt like hope. Marcus's lead attorney quit. You lied to me, he told Marcus in a phone call Sarah's team intercepted. You told me Sarah embezzled corporate funds. That was her money from her trust fund. You committed fraud in your filings. I can't represent a client who lies to me. David Morrison approached Emily privately. I have information about financial irregularities at Technova. Marcus has been creative with accounting. I can provide documentation. Why was David coming forward? Because the FBI had approached him first with evidence of his own participation in embezzlement alongside Brittany. They offered a deal. Cooperate and testify against Marcus? 2 years minimum security. Stay silent. 20 years hard time. David had 3 young daughters. He chose his family over loyalty to Marcus. The forensic audit cleared Sarah completely. Independent accountants confirmed the $50 million withdrawal was her original trust fund investment plus documented equity growth. No embezzlement occurred. Sarah felt the tide turning back in her favor. She had her children. The psychiatric evaluation vindicated her. Marcus's lies were unraveling. She hosted a small celebration dinner at the Connecticut estate. Sarah, Emily, Jackson, and Lily. To the truth, Sarah said, raising her glass of sparkling water. It takes longer to emerge than lies, but it always does. Mommy, are we safe now? Lily asked. Is Daddy going to stop being mean? Yes, baby, Sarah said, believing it for the first time in weeks. We're safe. The worst is over. Jackson smiled. I knew you'd win, Mom. You always win. That night, Sarah lay in bed, first peaceful sleep in weeks. Storm had passed, divorce would finalize, custody was secured, baby was healthy, due in 2 weeks. She fell asleep believing the nightmare was ending. She was wrong. The nightmare was just beginning. The press conference was announced at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Brittany Hayes to make public statement regarding Marcus Carter relationship. Sarah was at the Connecticut estate, now 9 months pregnant, when she saw the notification. Emily sat beside her as they turned on CNN. Brittany appeared at a podium, hair perfectly styled, wearing a conservative navy dress, her lawyer standing beside her. She looked nervous but determined. My name is Brittany Hayes, she began, reading from a prepared statement. For 2 years, I was in a relationship with Marcus Carter. He told me his marriage was over, that he was leaving his wife, that we had a future together. Sarah's hands clenched on the armrest. 2 months ago, Brittany continued, I discovered I'm pregnant. Marcus is the father. Sarah's face drained of color. Emily grabbed her arm. When I told him, he tried to pay me to take care of it. I refused. This baby is innocent. I'm filing a paternity suit and requesting child support. Brittany looked directly at the camera. Sarah Carter, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I was young, stupid, and believed his lies. We're both victims of the same man. The press conference ended. Sarah sat frozen on the couch, one hand on her pregnant belly, the other gripping the cushion. She's pregnant, Sarah whispered. He's having a baby with her. Sarah, breathe. While I was carrying our child, he was creating another one with her. Sarah's vision blurred. Her breathing became rapid and shallow, hyperventilating. I'm calling your OB, Emily said, already dialing. Your blood pressure. Sarah ran to the bathroom and vomited, then collapsed on the bathroom floor, unable to stand. Emily called 911. The ambulance took Sarah to Stanford Medical. Blood pressure dangerously high, pre-eclampsia risk. The doctor said they might need to induce labor early. I can't, Sarah said from the hospital bed, IV in her arm. I can't do this anymore. That was catastrophe number one. Catastrophe number two came the next morning while Sarah was still hospitalized. Her credit card was declined, paying the hospital bill. Then the backup card. Then all of them. Emily called the bank. What do you mean frozen? Court order filed by Marcus Carter's legal team this morning. All joint accounts frozen pending asset division hearing. Mrs. Carter has access to $5,000 per month temporary living allowance. $5,000 per month. Sarah had billions tied up in investments, but they were all tangled in Technova's corporate structure. Could take 18 to 24 months to untangle in divorce proceedings. Sarah went from billionaire to effectively broke overnight. She couldn't pay the staff at the Connecticut estate, couldn't pay the hospital bill, couldn't pay Emily's legal fees. Mitchell Foundation assets were frozen too, Marcus's lawyers arguing they were marital property. That afternoon, Sarah's credit cards were declined at Target buying diapers for the incoming baby. A line of people behind her stared. A woman recognized her from the news. Aren't you Sarah Carter, the billionaire? Sarah fumbled through her wallet, finding crumpled bills. Not anymore. She paid with $87 cash, all she had to her name, and left the store humiliated. That was catastrophe number two. Catastrophe number three arrived the next day via the National Enquirer. Grace Williams, the family friend who'd originally tipped Sarah off about the affair, had sold an exclusive story for $500,000. Grace had $400,000 in gambling debt. Loan sharks were threatening her family. She chose survival over loyalty. The headline screamed from newsstands and websites. Inside Sarah Carter's cold-blooded revenge plot. The article revealed everything. Sarah knew about the affair for 8 months before exposing it. She methodically planned the gala ambush. She invited Brittany to ensure the mistress would be present. She hired a private investigator, documented everything, waited for maximum impact. Text messages between Sarah and Grace appeared in print. I'm going to destroy him in front of everyone. Grace's quote twisted the knife. Sarah wasn't a heartbroken wife. She was a calculating strategist. She used her pregnancy as a shield, played victim while plotting revenge. Marcus's Alzheimer's claim may have been desperate, but Sarah's public execution was premeditated. Public opinion turned completely. She knew for 8 months and said nothing. She planned this while pregnant. She's not a victim. She's a manipulator. Marcus was right. She's vindictive and unstable. Patricia Carter called that evening. Sarah, I defended you. I told Marcus he destroyed the family. But this article, you planned this for 8 months? You smiled at family dinners, hosted Thanksgiving, attended Marcus's birthday party, all while planning to humiliate him? Patricia, you don't understand. I understand you're vindictive. Maybe Marcus did need to protect himself from you. Are you serious? He cheated, and you weaponized your pregnancy for revenge. You're both wrong. But at least Marcus's sins were human weakness. Yours were calculated cruelty. Patricia hung up. Sarah stared at her phone. Even Marcus's mother thought she was the villain now. The perfect storm had arrived. Brittany's pregnancy announcement, financial ruin, Grace's betrayal revealing the calculated nature of Sarah's revenge. Public opinion completely turned. Allies abandoning her, 9 months pregnant, alone, broke, vilified. Sarah stopped eating, stopped answering calls, sat in the dark nursery for hours, hand on her belly, unable to process how everything had gone so wrong so fast. Jackson and Lily tiptoed around her, scared. They'd seen online comments calling their mother evil. Lily cried, asking why people hated Mommy. Sarah had no answer. Emily found Sarah on the bathroom floor 2 days later, unconscious, severely dehydrated. She'd locked the door. Emily had to break it down with a fireplace poker. "Sarah, stay with me." The ambulance came. Paramedics worked frantically. Jackson and Lily watched from the doorway, terrified. "Is Mommy dying?" Jackson asked. "Please don't let Mommy die," Lily sobbed. At Stanford Medical, Sarah's blood pressure was 180 over 110, severe preeclampsia. The doctor said they needed to induce labor immediately or risk losing both Sarah and the baby. Sarah, barely conscious, mumbled, "Don't care anymore. Don't care." "Sarah, I need you to fight," Dr. Mitchell said, "for your baby, for Jackson and Lily in that waiting room, terrified they're losing their mother." "I have nothing left. He took everything." Emily grabbed Sarah's hand. "No, he took your money, your reputation. But he can't take your strength unless you let him. You're Sarah goddamn Mitchell. You built a foundation from nothing. You survived 10 years with a narcissist. You exposed him in front of 500 people while 8 months pregnant. This is when you give up? When you're so close to freedom?" "I'm not close to freedom. I'm destroyed. Everyone hates me. I'm broke. He's winning." Dr. Mitchell sat on the hospital bed, eye level with Sarah. "You have two choices. Bed rest, complete. You drop the custody fight, the divorce proceedings, the financial battles, everything that's stressing you. You focus on keeping this baby safe for 2 more weeks. That means Marcus might gain ground legally while you're sidelined." Dr. Mitchell paused. "Or you keep fighting. You go back to court next week. You battle him. You stress your body beyond its limits. Your blood pressure stays this high. You will have a stroke. You could die. Your baby could die. Or both. What matters more? Justice or survival?" Sarah looked at her belly. The baby kicked weakly. "If I stop fighting, he wins custody. He gets Tech Nova. He gets everything." Emily squeezed her hand. "If you die, he gets everything anyway. Plus he gets to raise your children alone." Long silence. "Okay," Sarah whispered, broken. "Bed rest. I'm done fighting." "That's not surrender," Emily said. "That's choosing to live. Tell my lawyer to offer Marcus joint custody, equal division of assets, whatever he wants. I'm not risking my baby's life for revenge." That night, Jackson and Lily climbed carefully into Sarah's hospital bed on either side of her, hooked up to monitors. "Did we make you sick?" Lily asked. "Because of Daddy?" "No, sweetheart," Sarah said, stroking her hair. "None of this is your fault. Grown-ups sometimes make things complicated. But you two are the reason I'm fighting to get better." "I don't care if we're rich or poor," Lily said. "I just want you." "Me too," Jackson said. "Daddy can have all the money, just don't leave us." Sarah held them close, sobbing silently. She'd hit rock bottom. 9 months pregnant, broke, vilified, abandoned by allies, forced to choose between justice and survival. She chose survival, and then the universe delivered justice anyway. 24 hours after Sarah chose bed rest, her blood pressure stabilized. Dr. Mitchell was cautiously optimistic. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You might make it to full term." What changed? Sarah had let go, stopped fighting, told Emily to settle, surrendered, and then everything shifted. The FBI raided Technova headquarters on day 26. Federal agents executed a search warrant at 8 a.m., seizing computers, financial records, servers. David Morrison had been wearing a wire for 3 weeks, gathering evidence while Marcus thought he was safe. David's confession was extensive. Marcus Carter had been embezzling from Technova for 2 years. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell companies, corporate funds used to buy Brittany's condo, her car, jewelry, all charged as business expenses and consulting fees. Total fraud, $12 million. Why did David flip? The FBI approached him first. They had evidence of his participation in the embezzlement scheme alongside Brittany. They offered him a deal. Cooperate and testify? 2 years minimum security. Stay silent? 20 years hard time. David had 3 daughters. He chose his family. Marcus was arrested at Technova. Perp walked in handcuffs while press cameras captured everything. Sarah watched it from her hospital bed, stunned silent. She hadn't lifted a finger. The universe was delivering justice without her. Then came the second domino. Marcus demanded a paternity test on Brittany's pregnancy, trying to prove he was the father, gain sympathy, show he was taking responsibility. The DNA results came back. Marcus was not the father. The actual father? David Morrison. Brittany had been sleeping with both executives simultaneously. She got pregnant during her affair with David, tried to pin it on Marcus for a bigger payout. A reporter confronted Brittany outside her condo. Ms. Hayes, DNA proves Marcus Carter is not the father. Do you have a comment? Brittany caught, stammered. There must be a lab error. I need to retest. The father is David Morrison, Technova's CFO. Were you conducting affairs with multiple executives simultaneously? Brittany fled. Cameras chased her. The video went viral. Public opinion swung back to Sarah instantly. Brittany Hayes is a liar and a con artist. She played both men, got caught. Sarah Carter was right about everything. Hashtag justice for Sarah trended worldwide. The third domino fell on day 28. Jessica Roberts published a Wall Street Journal expose titled The Real Marcus Carter, A Decade of Lies. The article revealed Marcus's carefully constructed origin story was fabricated. He didn't start Technova from scratch. He'd embezzled code from his previous employer. His first startup folded due to fraud allegations that were quietly settled. College transcripts showed mediocre grades, not the genius he claimed. Most damaging, Marcus's neurologist went on record. Mr. Carter came to me with minor memory concerns. Tests showed stress-related cognitive issues, not Alzheimer's. I explicitly told him this was not a terminal diagnosis. He twisted my words for sympathy. The Alzheimer's claim was exaggerated manipulation, just like everything else. Technova stock dropped 40% in one day. Shareholders panicked. Institutional investors demanded Marcus's removal. The board held an emergency meeting. The vote was split 4-4 with one undecided. The motion to remove Marcus failed 5-4. But Sarah wasn't done. From her hospital bed, she called every major institutional shareholder. Pension funds, investment firms, they collectively held 30% of Technova stock. Marcus committed fraud, Sarah told them. FBI has evidence. Stock will tank further. You'll be sued for breach of fiduciary duty if you don't act. The Wall Street Journal expose published. Stock dropped another 20%. Shareholders threatened to sue the board. Emergency meeting number 2 happened on day 60. The board voted 7-2 to remove Marcus as CEO. A public shareholder meeting was required for founder removal. It happened on day 90. 500 shareholders attended. Marcus sat in the audience, out on bail, awaiting trial. Sarah attended too, baby Hope now 2 months old, in a stroller with a nanny in the back. Sarah sat in the balcony, watching. The vote was called. 73% voted to terminate Marcus Carter. When results were announced, Marcus looked up to the balcony, saw Sarah. Their eyes met across the room. She didn't smile, didn't gloat, just looked at him with quiet finality. He mouthed, "I'm sorry." She looked away. Done. Effective immediately, Marcus Carter is removed, the chairman announced. Interim CEO will be Sarah Mitchell Carter. Applause erupted. Sarah hadn't expected this. She looked stunned. Marcus Carter's trial began 6 months later. 12 counts of embezzlement, wire fraud, securities fraud. David Morrison testified against him, providing detailed evidence. Forensic accountants traced $12 million to offshore accounts. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Verdict, guilty on 9 counts. Sentence, 6 years in federal prison plus $25 million in restitution. The SEC investigation added $18 million in fines and banned Marcus from serving as an officer of any public company for life. The IRS audit found tax evasion, adding another $8 million in penalties. Marcus's final net worth dropped from $4.2 billion to $47 million. Legal fees, settlements, fines, and restitution consumed everything else. The divorce settlement gave Sarah 60% of marital assets. The court ruling her original investment plus Marcus's fraud tipped the scales. His parents disowned him. Friends abandoned him. The industry blacklisted him. Stanford Medical revoked the donation building named after him. Every charity cut ties. Brittany's fate was equally decisive. FBI agents arrested her at 6 a.m. at the condo Marcus bought, which was now seized. Brittany answered the door in a silk robe, morning coffee in hand. Brittany Hayes, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement, and making false statements. What? There must be a mistake. I'm a victim. We have recordings of you and David Morrison planning to embezzle funds. We have texts where you bragged about playing both guys. You have the right to remain silent. Wait, I'll cooperate. I'll testify against Marcus. Too late. David Morrison's already cooperating. We don't need you. Handcuffs clicked. Paparazzi captured her being let out in a bathrobe. 4 months later, in a courtroom, Judge Richardson sentenced her. Ms. Hayes, you've been found guilty on 12 counts. You targeted wealthy men, exploited your position of trust, embezzled corporate funds, and showed zero remorse. You're sentenced to 8 years in federal prison with restitution of $6 million. Your condo, car, jewelry, all seized. This is all Sarah Carter's fault, Brittany screamed as bailiffs led her away. She destroyed my life. Her mugshot, no makeup, mascara running, posted everywhere online. 6 months into Marcus's sentence, his mother, Patricia, visited him in federal prison. I saw Sarah on the news, Patricia said. She was named CEO of the Year by Fortune magazine. Marcus sat across from her in an orange jumpsuit, looking hollow. I saw. Technova's value doubled under her leadership. $8.4 billion now. She's brilliant, Marcus. I know. Jackson and Lily won't take your calls. Your own children refuse to speak to you. I know, Mom, I know. In the prison common room later, Marcus watched Sarah's interview on 60 Minutes. What kept you going? The interviewer asked. Sarah, holding baby Hope, looked radiant. My children, and the knowledge that I deserve better than scraps of love from a man who didn't value me. I thought his success made me important. Turns out I was the one who made him possible. Do you ever think about Marcus? Honestly, no. I wasted 10 years thinking about him constantly. Now I spend my energy on my kids, my company, my foundation. He's not my villain. He's not my cautionary tale. He's just nobody. Marcus, watching alone, put his head in his hands and wept. He picked up the prison phone and called Sarah. Voicemail. Sarah, I know you'll never listen to this, but I need to say it. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was too arrogant to see it until I'd lost everything. I don't want you back. I know I don't deserve that. I just want you to know you won. You won at life, and I lost everything that mattered. I'm so sorry. He hung up, put his head on the table, sobbed. Sarah never listened to the voicemail. She deleted it without playing it. 3 years after Marcus's release from prison, after serving 3 years, he lived in a modest Oakland apartment, working as a freelance consultant. Nobody would hire him. He had court-ordered supervised visitation with Jackson and Lily once a month. He brought gifts. They rejected them. You hurt Mom, Jackson said, now 11 and tall. You made her cry every night for months. You made Lily have nightmares. You weren't there when Hope was born because you were in jail. You chose a woman you barely knew over us. My friend asked why my daddy is a bad man, Lily said, clutching her teddy bear. I didn't know what to say. I made terrible mistakes, but I love you both. No, Jackson said. You love yourself. Mom loves us. That's the difference. We don't want to see you anymore, Lily said. They walked out. The social worker shrugged at Marcus. He sat alone in the visitation room, video games unopened on the table, body shaking with sobs. This was the real punishment. Not prison, not bankruptcy, losing his children's love. 3 years after the gala, Marcus requested to meet Sarah. Neutral location, a Palo Alto coffee shop. Emily advised against it. Sarah said she needed closure. Sarah arrived elegant and powerful, carrying 3-year-old Hope. Marcus sat at a corner table in jeans and a plain shirt, aged beyond his 41 years. You have 5 minutes, Sarah said, sitting across from him. Thank you for coming. I don't want anything. I just needed to see you one last time to tell you the truth. The truth now? After years of lies? I was terrified of you, Marcus said, of your intelligence, your strength, your legacy. You came from the Mitchell family, old money, real power. I came from nothing. Every day I thought, today's the day she realizes she's too good for me. So I sabotaged it. I found someone who looked up to me, who didn't challenge me, someone I could control. So you chose mediocrity over partnership. I chose ego over love, and I lost everything that mattered. He looked at Hope. Is she healthy? She's perfect. Her name is Hope, because that's what she represents. My new beginning. Technova is thriving under you. You're doing better than I ever did. I know. The kids won't speak to me. Jackson sent back my birthday card unopened. They're old enough to make their own choices. You taught them actions have consequences. Will you ever tell them I love them, even though I failed them? Sarah paused. I'll tell them you were human, flawed, selfish, weak, but human. What they do with that information is up to them. I won't poison them against you, but I won't lie for you either. Is there any part of you that remembers when it was good? Of course, I remember the man who danced with me in Central Park, who held me when my father died, who promised me forever. That man died long before our marriage did. I grieved him. I moved on. The Alzheimer's thing at the gala, I panicked. It was partially true. I had stress-related memory issues. My doctor said it could be early signs, but probably wasn't. I weaponized it for sympathy. So even your confession was manipulation. Everything I touched turned to lies. Sarah stood to leave. Marcus, I want you to understand something. I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. I just refused to go down with you. I didn't put you in prison. Your fraud did. I didn't turn your children against you. Your choices did. I'm not your villain. I'm just the woman who said enough. I know, for what it's worth, I'm truly deeply sorry. I believe you, but sorry doesn't give me back the years I wasted. Sorry doesn't undo the trauma you caused our children. Sorry is just a word you say when it's too late to matter. She turned to leave. Sarah? She stopped but didn't turn around. If you ever find it in your heart to forgive me, not for me, for you, so you can be free of the anger. Sarah turned back, looked him dead in the eye. Marcus, you fundamentally misunderstand. I'm not angry anymore. I'm indifferent. You're not my villain. You're not my cautionary tale. You're not even my ex-husband in my mind. You're just nobody. And that's the only closure I need. She walked out. Marcus sat alone, watching through the window as she picked up Hope, kissed her daughter's forehead, smiled at the sunshine, got into her Tesla, and drove away. He sat there until his coffee went cold, until the afternoon crowd filled the shop, until the barista asked if he wanted anything else. No, Marcus said quietly. There's nothing else. He left the coffee shop and walked to his modest apartment 3 blocks away. No one waited for him there. No one would call later. This was his life now. 6 years after the gala that changed everything, Sarah stood in Technova's headquarters, looking at the Fortune magazine cover on her desk. CEO of the year. The company was now valued at $15 billion under her leadership. Her assistant knocked. Ms. Carter, the foundation board is ready for you. Sarah picked up Hope's birthday invitation from her desk. Tonight was her daughter's 6th birthday party at the Connecticut estate. Jackson was 13 now, a straight-A student applying to science programs. Lily was 11, the lead in her school musical. Hope was 6, bright and curious, and completely unaware of the drama that surrounded her birth. Sarah had donated over $200 million to domestic violence prevention and women's empowerment programs. She'd established the Sarah's House Shelter Network across California. She'd turned her pain into purpose. Dr. Ryan Matthews would be at the party tonight, the pediatrician she'd been dating for a year. Kind eyes, gentle hands, a man who saw her not as a wounded victim or a vengeful harpy, but simply as Sarah. He was good with the kids, patient, real. The doorbell rang at the Connecticut estate that evening. Sarah opened it to find a delivery man with a small, wrapped present and a card. Who's it from? Hope asked, peering around her mother's legs. Sarah read the card. For Hope, on her birthday. I'm sorry I can't be there. Love always, M. Something flickered across Sarah's face. Not longing, not regret, just recognition of a ghost from another life. Nobody important, sweetie, Sarah said, handing the unopened present to Emily. She returned to the party, picked up Hope, kissed her daughter's forehead. Jackson and Lily were decorating cupcakes with Ryan, all of them laughing at some joke. Sarah's phone buzzed with a notification. Another acquisition offer for a startup she'd been mentoring. Another interview request from Forbes. Another invitation to speak at a conference about women in tech. Her life was full, rich, meaningful, complete. Marcus Carter was serving the final year of his sentence. He would be released in 8 months. He'd filed for visitation rights again. Jackson and Lily had written letters to the court asking that the request be denied. The judge would rule next month. Sarah would support whatever her children decided. She wouldn't poison them against their father, but she wouldn't force them to maintain a relationship that hurt them either. They were old enough to choose. As for Brittany Hayes, she was still in FCI Dublin, eligible for parole in 3 more years. The last Sarah heard, Brittany was appealing her sentence. It wouldn't work. The evidence was overwhelming. She'd spend every day of those 8 years in prison. Grace Williams had tried to apologize multiple times. Sarah never responded. Some betrayals couldn't be forgiven, even with understanding. Grace's gambling debt was eventually paid off, but their friendship was over. That door closed permanently the day Grace sold Sarah's trust for $500,000. Hope tugged on Sarah's sleeve. Mommy, can we do cake now? Of course, baby. They gathered around the dining table. Hope's eyes widened at the elaborate unicorn cake. Candles flickered. Everyone sang. Hope made a wish and blew them out. What did you wish for? Lily asked. Can't tell, Hope said seriously. Or it won't come true. Sarah smiled. She knew what she would wish for if given the chance. She'd wish for exactly this. Her children healthy and happy. A career she built herself. Financial independence. Freedom from lies. A life authentic and true. She'd wish for exactly what she had. Later that night, after guests left and children were in bed, Sarah stood in the Connecticut Estates Library, the same room where 8 months pregnant, she'd made the decision to expose Marcus publicly. Emily found her there. You okay? Emily asked. Yeah, Sarah said. I was just thinking about that night, when I decided to go through with the gala announcement. I was so scared. I didn't know if I was making the right choice. Do you think you did? Make the right choice? Sarah considered. I think I made the only choice I could live with. I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't smile through another foundation dinner while he lied to my face. I couldn't raise my daughter in a marriage built on deception. Could I have handled it differently? Probably, but this is how it happened, and I'm okay with that. You're more than okay, Sarah. You're thriving. Sarah smiled. I am, finally. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. He'll be out soon, Emily said. Marcus? 8 months. I know. Are you worried? No, Sarah said honestly. He can't hurt me anymore. He's not my husband. He's not my partner. He's just the man my children's father used to be. And that's okay. Emily hugged her sister. I'm proud of you. For surviving. For building this life. For showing Jackson and Lily and Hope what real strength looks like. After Emily left, Sarah walked upstairs and checked on her children. Jackson sprawled across his bed, science textbook still open beside him. Lily curled around her stuffed rabbit, peaceful. Hope in her unicorn pajamas, tiny hand clutching her birthday card. Sarah stood in Hope's doorway and thought about the night 6 years ago, when she stood on that stage, 8 months pregnant with this child, and ended her marriage in front of 500 people. People often asked if she regretted it. The public exposure, the drama, the trauma to her children. The answer was complicated. She regretted that Marcus cheated. She regretted that her children had to learn about betrayal so young. She regretted the pain, the fear, the months of despair. But did she regret standing up for herself, refusing to be silent, teaching her children that abuse, emotional, sexual, financial, had consequences? No. She didn't regret that at all, because the alternative was staying, accepting, pretending, shrinking herself to fit inside a lie. And Sarah Mitchell Carter didn't shrink anymore. She walked downstairs to her office and opened her laptop. Tomorrow morning, she had a board meeting. Technova was acquiring a promising startup focused on education technology in developing nations. Full circle back to the vision she and Marcus had shared 10 years ago. But now she was building it alone. Better, stronger, more ethical. Her phone showed a text from Ryan. Great party. Hope loved the science kit. Want to grab coffee tomorrow before your meeting? Sarah smiled and texted back. Yes, 7 a.m. at our usual place. Perfect. Sleep well, Sarah. She closed her laptop and turned off the office lights. In Oakland, Marcus Carter sat in his small apartment, alone. He'd watched Hope's birthday party from Facebook photos one of his distant cousins posted. He'd seen Sarah smiling, the children laughing, Ryan's arm around her shoulders. He'd seen what he'd lost, what he'd destroyed, what he could never get back. He went to bed in his empty apartment and stared at the ceiling, counting down the days until his release. 8 months. Then what? He didn't know. He had no plan. No future. Nothing waiting for him except supervised visitation his children didn't want and a reputation that followed him everywhere. This was the life he'd built with his choices. In Connecticut, Sarah fell asleep in her comfortable bed, Hope's soft breathing audible through the baby monitor, and dreamed of the future. She dreamed of Jackson's high school graduation, Lily's performance in a Broadway show, Hope's first day of kindergarten, board meetings where she announced new philanthropic initiatives, conferences where she taught other women how to build empires. She dreamed of a life beyond Marcus Carter, a life he had no part in, a life that was wholly, completely, beautifully hers. And when she woke up the next morning to sunlight streaming through her windows, to the sound of her children laughing downstairs, to the smell of coffee Emily had started brewing, Sarah smiled because she'd survived. More than survived, she'd thrived. She'd stood on that stage 6 years ago, 8 months pregnant, and ended her marriage. Marcus's reaction had stunned everyone. His Alzheimer's confession, his collapse, the chaos that followed. But in the end, none of it mattered. Not his lies, not his manipulation, not his desperate attempts to control the narrative. What mattered was that Sarah had said enough. She'd drawn a line. She'd refused to accept betrayal as the price of stability. And now, 6 years later, she stood in her beautiful Connecticut home with her 3 healthy children, her thriving company, her meaningful work, and her hard-won peace, and knew with absolute certainty that she'd made the right choice. Sometimes the best revenge wasn't destroying someone who hurt you. It was building a life so beautiful they could only watch from the outside. Marcus Carter was released from federal prison 8 months later. He moved to Portland, working as a freelance consultant. He had not seen his children in over 2 years. They'd asked the court to terminate his visitation rights. The judge granted it. Sarah Mitchell Carter's net worth reached $6.2 billion. Under her leadership, Technova's valuation hit $15 billion. She donated millions to domestic violence prevention and women's empowerment programs. Jackson, Lily, and Hope were thriving. They'd chosen to hyphenate their last name to Mitchell Carter, honoring their mother's legacy while acknowledging their father existed. Brittany Hayes served her full 8-year sentence. She was released in 29, bitter and broken, to a world that had forgotten her. And Sarah kept building, kept growing, kept proving that the greatest revenge was indeed a life well lived.